no other place in the NFL. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the New England Patriots in Foxborough, the first trip back for Tom Brady against his former coach at Gillette Stadium in Massachusetts. And first of all, it was only fitting that the weather conditions was inclement weather. It was downpouring. It was raining heavily. That's kind of a typical October winter game being played at Gillette Stadium. So it was only fitting that in his first game back, the first game of the season for the Patriots, where with tons of rain, that it would come right now. And I don't say this often. There are very few moments, I think, in sports where I think there are opportunities for both sides to have come out on top. Not that there are moral victories in sports, but oftentimes two things can be true, and the best outcome can actually play itself out for both teams. There's no question if you're on the losing side, you're going to be disappointed in any sport. And again, I'm not about to reveal a whole kind of monologue about this is a moral victory for the New England Patriots. I'm not going to say that. But this was about as best of an outcome I think that you can have for every single team and every single entity involved. For the New England Patriots, this was a massively successful night. You got the GOAT coming back. This team hadn't been playing well in their previous kind of 3 outings of the season. Obviously, now they're 1-3. But I was extremely impressed with the defense. The defense held this potent Bucs offense to 19 points. They kept Brady out of the end zone, held him to 0 touchdowns. They were aggressive defensively. They were defending the perimeters of the field extremely well. The secondary was playing sensationally well. The game plan was executed beautifully. The Patriots didn't get blown out, which was a little bit of a concern. And Mac Jones, I thought, was extremely, extremely impressive in this showing, given all the external factors that were revolving around this game. So from the Patriots standpoint, sure, they came up short, but they lost on a 56-yard field goal in the rain to Tom Brady. So they had a chance to win this game. So great outcome for them in the sense that, hey, they represented themselves well. They pushed the defending Super Bowl champs to the brink. They had an opportunity to win the game. They just came up a little bit short, but they played about as well as you could have played given the inclement weather conditions, given the magnitude of the moment, given the quarterback on the opposite side of the field. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, message was simple. Get the job done, win the game. They did that. Wasn't pretty. It was ugly. Tom Brady didn't play well. The entire team didn't play well. There were so many dropped passes, numerous drop balls. Antonio Brown, who normally is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, had a couple crucial drop passes, especially in the end zone late, that are kind of, we're not used to seeing him drop those types of passes. So neither side played particularly well, but for the Buccaneers, they're saying to themselves, listen, we knew this was going to be an emotionally charged evening. We knew it would be an extremely emotional evening for Brady. And at the end of the day, we just wanted to come out with the win. And that's what they did. So they got the job done. Leonard Fournette, there was a sighting for him. He was fantastic yesterday. And the defense played the best defensively that the Bucs defense has played all season. 4 sacks, interception, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. They held the Patriots to 17 points. So this was the best defensive game plan that the Bucs have executed. This is the best that the defense has looked. So you got the Patriots winning. You got the Bucs winning in that regard. The NFL wins in the sense that you have a competitive game. And you don't necessarily know if it's going to be competitive, given on paper the Bucs are just so much more talented than the Patriots. So you have a competitive game. And then from a fan's perspective, well, not only did you get a competitive game, but in a way, both fan bases can leave this game knowing that they were proud of the way that their teams played. Patriots fans, sure, disappointed, but you can't really be too disappointed in that outcome. And for the Bucs fans, at the end of the day, they won the game. And it's as simple as that. And let me first say this, by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, this had to have been a Patriots team that was thrilled to be in the position that they were in. To be pretty much neck and neck with this Bucs team at home, rainy conditions. Again, the Bucs could not, their offense was sputtering. 1 for 4 in the red zone. They could not find the back of the end zone at all, at least through the air. They had to rely solely on the ground game. And so regardless of the way that this game was going to play out and what the outcome was going to be, the Patriots had to be extremely, extremely proud of themselves. But the first half went precisely how Belichick and the Pats wanted it to go. They led 7-6. It was ugly, low scoring. And many of the drives ended in field goals or a missed field goal once by Ryan Suckup. So the Patriots defensively executed everything that they wanted to do. They were kind of flustering Tom a little bit, confusing him to a certain degree. He certainly wasn't comfortable getting different looks, even at the line of scrimmage. They were changing up plays. They were in one formation to start pre-snap, and they're in another formation as the snap has actually begun. So I thought that the defense played well. Mac Jones really kind of showed, I think, not only the Patriots, but the entire league that, hey, I'm going to rise to the occasion. And it was extremely impressive given the fact that he was under siege the entire night. Todd Bowles' defense was getting after him. They were absolutely smothering. Again, 4 sacks, an interception. They were bringing the heat every single time, and he stood in there. He wasn't frazzled, and he held his own and actually engineered several really nice-looking drives that they just couldn't always convert into 7. Sometimes they had to settle for a field goal. But he kind of answered the call. So as far as how impressive did Mac Jones look, especially in the no huddle? The no huddle, he was in a rhythm. They were playing with tempo. That's where he was at his best. That's where he was the most successful. And that was extremely impressive. Now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one thing was pretty glaring and was quite apparent throughout the entire game, and that was the absence of Rob Gronkowski. The Bucs, again, 1 for 4 in the red zone. A big reason why they didn't have that target and Rob Gronkowski out due to broken ribs. And Brady was struggling to find the back of the end zone, was struggling to find Cameron Brate, to find Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin. These plethoras of receivers just couldn't find him. And Rob Gronkowski has been his go-to red zone target for the majority of this season. He didn't have him. And so you factor that with not able to move the ball down the field during key stretches. You have the Patriots relying on trickery and gadget plays and deception to move the ball a couple times, which was something that Todd Bowles said he kind of expected to see at some point, but couldn't really defend against. And at the end of the day, the Bucs just found a way to win. They found a way to battle through the adversity. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. You had to find a way to come out of there with a win in that hostile environment with the crowd probably a little bit confused as to what they wanted to represent in that game. Started off cheering Tom, takes to the field when the actual game begins. They're booing him, cheering him when he passes Drew Brees as the NFL's leading passer all time. There was really no moment to stop and appreciate that or to give some type of tribute. He was just trying to continue to play. And then obviously at the end of the game when he was leaving, then they were cheering him. But of course, it's only fitting that the game would come down to a missed field goal, 56 yards in the rain, classic New England kind of fashion and weather. But then the ending is kind of this ceremonious hug between Belichick and Brady, and then it was kind of awkward and fast, and Belichick didn't really give any to little eye contact to Brady, kind of absconded quickly right after the hug. Now, Brady obviously gave longer embraces to Josh McDaniels and his former teammates that he played at least on the field. But I think that one thing, because it was reported that Belichick actually entered the Bucs visiting locker room and he and Brady kind of spoke privately for about 20, 25 minutes. So the one thing that we know is, say what you want about their relationship, about where it ended up being, or about how it was reported. And I'm not saying that the two love one another, but when you go to battle with someone for 20 years, you win 6 Super Bowls, there's naturally going to be this bond that will exist between the two of them. They have a certain relationship. There's a certain appreciation and respect and admiration that they both have for one another, for what they've each meant to each other, what they've each meant to their careers. They had a tremendous run, and you certainly don't want it to be marred by some of the more recent reports. When you're involved, when you know someone for 20 years, when you're going to battle with them for 20 years, you're bound to have some qualms and some conflicts and some issues. And so hopefully, perhaps some of those were able to be hashed out in that conversation. It'd be incredible to be a fly on the wall in that little conversation that they were having. No one will know what went on in that little room other than those two and perhaps Giselle, his wife. So in front of the cameras, they didn't really want to make a big deal out of it, but glad that perhaps they got a chance to reunite in the post game. And I also said this, I tweeted this out too, because both of these guys are big competitors, that if the Patriots actually had Tom Brady going up against this Tom Brady Bucs team, the Patriots are probably finding a way to win this game. They're likely going to find a way to win this game if they had Tom Brady in this game.